Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Morning Gardener back again. I had a situation where I had to go after a fly and trip the cord out. Whatever. I digress. What happened was got into the yard today and had a very successful day. Got to look at all of my corn and plants after the storm we had yesterday, slight storm. Um, and when I did what I did, I noticed that everything was fine, just as I planned. Uh, I did go out and feed some of the plants because it was time to do so. Everything looked good. Everything was healthy, strong, and I felt good because after many years of making countless mistakes in the garden, I now have a system that I work with, and it helps me to keep the plants growing as they should. And I'm happy about that because everything grows. It's green, it's lush. I have the softest soil, very rich in nutrients, minerals, and it's all due to a number of things. But the main thing that helped me keep my soil together is a method called chop and drop. And I had someone hit me today and asked me what she had some concerns about chopping and dropping weeds, that she would be spreading them as opposed to keeping them in check. I chop and drop, been doing it for years. My yard, my ground is so soft when you walk on it. In the areas where I chop and drop, it's so soft that I use a spade today to put in a grapevine. Excuse me, not a grapevine, a tomato plant, and to put it in because one, I had it. It was sitting around. It had no job. It was in a tray, and I looked at it and said, "Well, it looks pretty good. It's got a lot of life in it. Let me give it a job and put it in the ground." Um, that being said, I put the tomato in the ground, but the soil was so soft that using a spade, it felt like the spade dropped in the ground as opposed to fighting it to go in the ground. And all of my soil is like that now that I use the chop and drop method. And so what I did in essence is put my weeds, my grass, my wild grass, I gave it a job. And thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you. I gave it a job because I got tired of fighting the weeds and said, okay, well, what can I do with weeds? What are weeds good for? Weeds are great because let me tell you what they do. A lot of them have the longest root tap systems that you just can imagine having anything better. Their roots are so deep in certain types of weeds. Their roots are so deep. That's why sometimes when you pull them from the ground, you never get the whole root. And it goes down into the subsoil and it pulls up a lot of minerals, and that's in the stem, the leaves, and every part of that weed. And what do you think happens when you chop that off at ground level and let it just fall and hit the ground? Well, it gets eaten up by the soil life. And the soil life in turn gives that nutrients to your plants that you are trying to grow. And it makes your job easier because it's nutrients, it's richness going into your plant, and it helps your plants out immensely. Uh, the bacteria also thrives in conditions where they have a food supply that is abundant, such as chopping and dropping weeds and grass all over the top of the soil. That is that is a great thing that soil biology loves. And when soil biology is abundant, your soil gets richer, it gets looser because they tunnel and they make their way through all different passages in the soil. Another reason why I gave up years ago tilling, because I bought a tiller, tilled my ground 3, 4 times, go 3 or 4 passes. The soil was soft as cotton. And then after a rain would take place, it would harden back up again. And I was asking myself, wait a minute, is this is how it's supposed to happen? Is this supposed to take place? I think not. Something I'm doing wrong. And I started doing more and more research and discovered that if I do the soil man's way, if I do the soil man's way, if I garden man's way, if I farm man's way, I'm going to wind up fighting not only weeds, not only make my soil crappier, not only make insects more abundant. I'm going to be fighting, and buying chemicals to keep the bugs off, and buying all kinds of additives in the store to add to my soil. I don't have to do that anymore if I choose not to. I don't have to do that. The soil is naturally becoming richer, better for the plant just by simply chopping and dropping. When when my growing season is over and I pick my tomatoes and I pick my okra and I pick my watermelons or whatever the case may be, I leave all of that on the ground. I leave it right there on the ground. I do not get rid of it. I may pull it out of the ground and lay it down. And guess what happens? Spring comes around. All this fall action is you cut down everything, you pulled everything up and laid it down, and through fall going into winter, all of the moisture and the activity in the soil is eating up all of that plant matter, giving a richness to my soil. And then comes in spring and then back to summer again. And it's like a cycle. So weeds do help me. And I realize that now weeds are a very important part of my soil. Now, another thing I do, I have sometimes have grasshoppers, and I sometimes have uh, what they call them crickets and things like all kind of bugs that will eat plant life. But I never get any bites or eating out of my plants because I keep them fed. I feed them my secret sauce, and I take care of my plants. Hi, how you doing, Marilyn? All right. Oh, it's a. I can't make that out. But I will say hello to you, MD, and I want to thank you for stopping by, coming in. And let's see, let's say hello, family. Hello, how you doing? Growing with Jay. Hello, how you doing? How you doing? Always good to see you in the room. I am sitting here talking about, I love the fact that I came into the knowledge to take care of my soil. And it is much better than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's a better soil. And soil is better because, and I know it's better because I used to fight with it every year when I could barely get a shovel through it. I used to wonder, why was it so heavy? Why was it so off colored? Instead of it being cold jet black, it was brownish. My soil was. Uh, and it had this grayish, whitish marbling in it. It was just clay. That's all it was. This is just clay. And I would put plants in the ground, and I would try to loosen up my soil. I would put compost in the ground, and I would do everything I could. I did everything I could think of, and it just, the soil was poor, and the soil was so poor that it made me feel like it wasn't worth the effort. And I purchased everything. I purchased everything. I purchased to try to make uh, uh, everything there. And I said, reply me, please. Okay. Hello, how you doing? Hello. All right. All right. We got Nature Nine and family. Greetings, Morning Gardener, and everyone in the house. Okay, that's what he wrote. I can't wait to see your video on the corn. And I'm gonna tell you, my thing is, I tell people go out over and over and check your plants, check your plants, check your plants. That's the only way to be really successful at it is to check your plants. Keep an eye on everything. Uh, you can't go out there once a week. You can't go out there every 3 days and see what's going on. You got to check that stuff. Bugs can move in. Please say my name. Uh, Bugs can move in, and once they do, you got issues. So I got to say to you, everything's been successful, um, and I, uh, I just I just enjoy it immensely. Uh, I have corn on my property right now that has no bugs in it whatsoever, no bite marks anywhere on any of the corn. Now, how do I do this? Keep the corn fed, keep the corn watered. Do not let the corn go through any stress because if you do, it's going to um, it's going to have a problem. So keep that in mind, folks. And the thing about it is, soil is the key. Soil is the key. So make sure that you keep that in mind. Soil is the absolute key. Take care of it. And I believe that you'll find that you'll have much success. Um, I got my soil where I want it now. Uh, Beginning of the year, it's tall grass. I go over it with a lawnmower. In areas that is harder to get to, I go over it with a weed trimmer. And the weed trimmer is great for soil that's in the area where you can chop it down and it gets to the I leave that chop and drop for to feed my fruit trees. So leaving the grass and the weeds. And my biggest enemy that's in my yard is the vines. I have some vines that are thick as ropes, and those vines take care of my trees. How is that? I cut them up with the weed trimmer, and I leave them there. Um, and some of them will stick around as my finger here, and those get chopped off, and I use a dab of salt, and I kill it, and it dies, and it's gone. So remember that. Keep everything smooth. Keep an eye on it, and you will see that everything is going to be favorable for you. So, uh, have I done corn before? Yes. Um, and it was so good. Only thing I regret this year is I tried a corn called Silver Queen, and it's good. But my favorite corn is peaches and cream, and I just couldn't get out to the store at the time, so I went ahead and planted what I had, and uh, I got tomatoes growing, um, and they're doing quite well. Um, and I got to tell you, beautiful, beautiful uh, plants. My pepper plants is grown in threes. They're grown in threes. I don't grow a single set pepper plant. I found out years ago that they like to be grown together. So, like I said, I experimented with two and then three and four. And then I found out, well, three was a better number because nutrition is an issue when you go any higher than 3. So grow them together, and then I pinch off the once they get about 6 inches tall, I pinch off the tops so that they'll bush out. Because see, I'm trying to get more peppers as opposed to just uh, with a single stem plant. I want them to bush out, and I get multiple um, uh, 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 you know peppers. So that's where I'm at, and I got to tell you, it's coming along just great. And I got to tell you, I'm happy about it. Grapevine, I have grapes out there now this year. It looks nice and pretty. Um, and they are doing quite well. The grapes are absolutely um, happy, to say the least. And I got to tell you, I'm astonished and glad to be out there with my God. Oh my goodness! And apples this year. I got to get a handle on my apple trees because it's just insane. Apples are definitely definitely one of my favorites, and it is definitely one what something I gotta understand better. And I'm going to convert some of my uh, cherry trees into one of the ones I have now that's been it's been there for the longest time. And I got to tell you, it's something that you will say to yourself, "Hey, what in the name of God, did I do? What in the name of God do to get these? What can I do to get these trees to start producing?" And I found out what it was. It's how you are feeding these plants. That's the whole trick. It's how you're feeding the plants to keep them healthy. If you follow what's on your um, your label, if you will, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy because it tells you fertilize once a month. It tells you fertilize once a month, you know, and there's something wrong with that. I always felt there was something wrong with that because you don't eat once a month. I'm telling you, I mean, plants are a lot of your fruit, a lot of them, your fruit and your vegetable plants are very, very, uh, hungry plants. And you want to make certain that you feed these plants. If you don't, you're gonna get what you put in. The when I plant something in the ground, I use my it's a formula that I use, and when I use that, it helps me to enjoy the fact that they stay healthy. Because a lot of people sometimes they put plants in the ground and they lose them right there. They'll start uh, they'll start dying back when you put them when you put them outside into your ground from your pots, and they'll start dying back. You don't want that. You do not want that. A couple things you can do. One, I'm starting to raise more of my own seeds, and they just do better when you put them in your soil because they're already familiar with the genetics of your soil. Then on top of that, you want to make certain that um, the soil is warm enough. You want to make certain that when you put them in the ground, that you don't stress the plant. And I've been moving watermelon plants around, uh, cantaloupe, and it doesn't bother any of my plants. They do fine. You spray uh, a little bit of you can spray or you could pour a little bit of tea, compost tea in the hole that you're getting ready to put them in. I'm telling you, it works. It works. Did I mention it works? Um, get you a bag of compost. Pour some in a. Here's what I use. I want you to try this. Don't. Don't say I'm not gonna try it because I know everything there is to know about gardening. I don't want you to fall into that trap. This right here is a strainer. This is a mesh strainer. You get it in the paint section at Home Depot or Lowe's. That's what you get it at. And it is a bag. You can get the now. This is the 5 gallon one. They got the one for the gallon size. Depending on what size garden I do a pretty good size garden, so I use this right here. Now, what do I do with this? I fill it about a quarter of the way with compost, and I tie it up, put a rope to it, so it's like a big tea bag, and I drop it down into a container, which is a 32-gallon trash receptacle. Never been used, but for that purpose. And then I put the bag in there, and I leave it in overnight. Now I can start using it the next morning. I can start using that tea the next morning. But 2, 3 days later, I just keep that bag in there and keep refilling, and using that tea. This is called stretching your dollars. Stretching your dollars. That's why I call this smart agriculture. Stretching your dollars because you might not have big money for those fertilizers. Them fertilizers are expensive. They are expensive unless you have that kind of job that you got that kind of money, and you don't even think about it until later. But you want to use the tea and pour it on your plants, and you want to do that weekly. You want to do it weekly, and it will help your plants to do better. So keep that in mind. Compost. You can use cow manure. You can use compost, but you put it in that sock and you let it sit overnight, and then you let it sit for 2 or 3 days, and then you start using it. And you just dip you some out in your water can, and you. Now me, I have a slightly different system. I have it where I'm using it in a hose sprayer. And I bought one of those. I can't. What's it called? It's just a hose sprayer. I did a video on it where I was telling everyone that I did one thing. I purchased it for $10 because I found one in the store that was open, and that's what I wanted, was to find one that was open, and that I had to go just showing some love. Hey, thank you very much for stopping by, though. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing the knowledge. When you go in there, everyone take care. Everyone take care. Look at that. He said that. Let's see. I'm hoping to get some honey crisp apples and crab apples. So good and makes wonderful jam. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And I like the fact that you got the crab apples because that helps the pollination of your trees. I mean, I have people that tell me different things about their trees, and everybody trying to learn, but never get to the point where you know everything there is to know about gardening. Don't do that. If you do that, you're bound to fail. If somebody trying to tell you something and they've been doing it for 21 years or 40 years, and you're telling them when you should actually have your ear on and just be listening. Oh, hello, how you doing? And if you do that, if you're not careful, you may learn something. I'm the same way. I'll go out to someone and I'll listen because it might be something that this man or woman is telling me that I didn't think about before. The main thing I kept looking at was keeping costs down when I first started gardening. I said, wait a minute, if I'm spending more money in this garden and not getting but a few tomatoes here and a few string beans here, but I'm spending more money, what is the purpose? What is the point? Unless I just enjoy it. But you can enjoy it and also be bountiful in it, get what you're getting. So I learned that a lot of what I needed for my garden was already there, and I just didn't know it. The grass clippings, the weeds, the chop and drop. That's what the fertilizer was all around me, and I couldn't see it because I was programmed to go to the store and buy fertilizer. I had the same issue a lot of you have. I was programmed that's where you get your fertilizer at. Then I started looking at, well, where do they get the fertilizer from? It's farm waste. It's farm waste. It's feathers. It's crap from the chickens. It's crap from the hogs and pigs, and it's crap from the cows and the horses or whatever. It's just crap, and you're paying top dollar for this stuff. Have to go. Okay, have to go. Info. Thank you for sharing. Oh, well, you have a good day now. You take care now. And so that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do, folks. Grow that food. And I always now overplant everything grow. I grow more than what I actually need because I wind up using the plants or I wind up giving some food away, and so it's well worth it to overgrow what I need. And I'm telling you, it is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, folks. Beautiful. Okay, let's see. Tried the grass clippings mulch. Let's see. Tried the grass clippings mulch, and now I'm all in. Oh, okay, okay, great, great. Yeah, I'm glad you tried the grass. You tried the grass. Blah, blah, blah. Let me get myself together here. Tried the grass clippings, and it worked. All that stuff does is it's a beautiful stuff. The grass clipping mulch, it's beautiful stuff. Put it around your plants. It feeds, it waters, it keeps the soil at a neutral temperature so it doesn't get too hot. Great. It's a win, 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 win. That's what it is. Absolutely. And that's how they grow. Well, that's the end of my show today, folks. I, I'm just thinking about my garden. And I got a video I just put up. Hi, SIMG. Hope you are doing well in MD, Maryland. All right. Thank you very much, Miss Stephanie. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. You always show up. When I see you sometimes, you show up. I'm doing good because I got out into my garden today. Is your tea a secret sauce? It's part of it. It's part of it. It definitely is. Um, you could take your tea and add some fish emulsion to it, and it will help out your garden immensely. That combination you cannot lose. The tea and the fish emulsion. That you try that and see once your plants jump out of the ground. Because tea is a beautiful thing. Tea makes your fruits and your vegetables taste better. The the uh, the fish emulsion helps to balance everything out so that you have all of this richness there for the soil biology, and that's what you want, folks. You put them two together, you can't go wrong. And remember that I would write it down if I was you because you're going to use that formula for years to come, and you're going to say, "I can't believe it was that easy." Um, and I wouldn't steer from it because it's going to keep you locked in on success, and that's what you want in your garden. You don't. Some of the greatest gardeners in the world are using some of those simplest formulas, but yet we got everybody on earth coming on a line trying to sell us everything, and they need to do that. These are multi-billionaires selling. Uh, that's why the pictures on the bags are so pretty. They're not selling you a fertilizer bag. This brown bag says fertilizer on it, 555. They're not selling to you like that. They got all these beautiful plants on the front, tomatoes with droplets of water running off of them, and then they show you all the flowers, all bright yellow and everything. They're doing that to get you into the illusion that this stuff is some kind of magic. And it's not. It's farm waste. It's farm waste. It's all it is. It's chicken, cows, feathers, ground up, cooked, and all that. And it's farm waste. And when you get it ground up in the pack, bag, whatever, it stinks a little bit. And you think, wow, this has got to be the stuff because it says here that it's the stuff. And really, all it is farm waste. Now, do you have something on your property that's great that will grow almost back? Yes, you do. Fall comes. If you don't collect your leaves and use those leaves, something is wrong with your whole program. If you don't do that, if you don't use those tree branches that you clip off of your trees, if you don't use those as fertilizer, something's wrong with your program. Because everything that's in your garden that's organic can be used. And you need to understand that is that it's no magic bullet. They sell you the fantasy. What grows those beautiful plants is he or she has knowledge on what they're doing. They are constantly giving the plant what it needs, making certain that the plant eats well, water, sunlight, proper soil pH, and a host of other things that they make certain that that plant gets. And that plant looks incredible, but they keep telling you that all you have to do is buy this bag and you'll be set. And that's not how it works. You could take that fertilizer, I'll give you a good example. You could take the fertilizer and put down all the fertilizer you want. But if it doesn't have the proper soil pH, it won't respond well. If it doesn't have the proper sunlight, it will not respond well. If it doesn't have proper watering, it's not going to respond well. Most mistakes most people make with their garden is over watering. And then I've seen people do this. It was a gentleman that had a garden problem. They were eating up his trees. The bugs were eating his trees. You know, he had all this grass around him and all these other plants, this wild, weeds in different areas, but the bugs didn't want those. They wanted his fruit trees. And a lot of you know right off the bat when I said that, why the bugs zeroed in just on the fruit trees. They were tearing them apart. It was eating the leaves up, the stems. They were just eating the tree that he paid his hard-earned dollars for. And you could go to the store, you can buy all the stuff you want to spray on it, and powders to put on it, and the bugs will wait for the rain to wash it off and go right back to that fruit tree and try to eat it up. Why are they doing this? Because the tree or the plant is sending out a distress signal that it's dying, that it's sick, that it's injured. And until you give that tree the proper nutrition and water and let it start fighting for itself, they're going to eat it. And they'll get it so bad that it can't even pick up sunlight, and then the tree will die on its own, and then they'll finish eating it. Now, why do bugs do this? Because they're nature's cleanup crew. That's what they are. They weed out the weak, the sick, the injured. That's what they do. That's just, it's sad, some way say, but that's just the facts. So when people selling you stuff to get rid of bugs in your garden, they need to explain to you why are the bugs attacking this plant. Either you give it now, if you give it man-made fertilizers like what's that one called? What is it called? Miracle-Gro. Miracle-Gro takes plants out of their balance, the natural time or how they're supposed to grow. It makes them grow super fast. So when it makes them grow super fast, they grow soft, tender, leaves and stems. All bugs love that. Bugs love that, period. But when a plant is growing at its normal rate and you're using compost and you're using compost tea, the plant builds up an immunity against the bug. You ever see that slick, waxy film that's on a leaf? That's protection. And if you don't see that on a plant, then you're doing something wrong. It should be there. It should already be there. Oh, hello, how you doing? Home gardening, AA home gardening. All right. And I want you to just understand that, folks. It's not a it's just nature. It's nature. Nature's job to clean up. So that's where I'm at with that. They still have also different soil or everything in the area should be going to 90% also. Interesting. I am good, thanks. Hope you are as well. Hello, how you doing? All right. I met the young lady that had the contest of giving away the plant if they could guess what plant it was. I knew I was out of it because I didn't know what it was. But I gotta say, people, good friends, family, just think about what I'm saying. If there's anything I'm saying that don't make sense, tell me. That's all. Just tell me. Because I've been doing it for 21 years. I've watched. I made all the mistakes. I made them all. I put plants in the ground and watched thousands of bugs come and eat the heads of cabbage up, kill everything. I watched it and said, "Wonder why they doing that?" And I would go buy the powders that they say put on them, and it was like, wait a minute, something's not right here. But yet, when you go in the forest, a healthy plant don't have bugs eating it up, and nobody's out there sprinkling powder on it. Oh, thank you very much. I trust your knowledge. Yeah, I mean, it's just bugs eat up weak plants. That simple. If you got a bug problem on your plant, all right, figure out what you're doing. And what am I feeding it? How often am I feeding it? Uh, does it need water? Let me check for water. Poke that finger in the soil. If it's all dry, it needs water. All right, now get this plant on a regular feeding schedule so it'll stop sending out that distress signal that it's dying, that it's hurt. And once you do that, uh, the plant will survive, and that's what you want. And I'm gonna tell you something, folks. I've done it, and I love it. And all my plants right now, the year before that, the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that, no bug damage. No bug damage. And the reason for that is that um, I simply have a situation where I simply just don't let my plants go without. I do not let them stress. I do not let them go without water or food. I don't do that because that's cause for insect infestation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Morning Garden. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll do it again like we did it today. Take care and remember to keep on growing. Yes, yes.